Hey, what's going on, guys? At the UFC 295 post-fight presser, Dana White was outright delusional. He was asked about Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. He was asked about Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. And honestly, his answers were just straight up delusional. And then the one legitimate question he got asked, he pushed back and bullied this MMA media member, and they had no good rebuttal. And while I'm watching this, I want to jump through the screen and scream the answer of what this guy should be saying at Dana White. So I've thought about making Dana White post-fight reactions before, reacting to it in real time. And this was the perfect one. There's so many key moments throughout this. We're going to expose the MMA media. We're going to expose Dana White. We're going to talk about Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic. I've combed through this 33-minute post-fight presser from Dana White. I'll link the full thing down in the description if you want to go check it out. I've gotten key timestamps, and we're going to react to them in real time in this video. Let's start right away, because honestly, I don't want this video to be too long. But he's asked about Jones versus Stipe.
We saw Stipe tonight, and obviously we wanted to have Stipe and Jon. Is that
First off, John Moore, we didn't want anything, okay? Don't speak for all of us. Nobody wanted Jon Jones Stipe.
still the fight to make, or do you feel like maybe Tom deserves to fight Jon or deserves to fight Stipe, or maybe that's a better fight?
No. You do those two.
Right.
Those two both deserve that fight. That's the fight they want. What I love is that Jon Jones, as soon as he heard that he was injured and he knew how bad it was, went right to LA, got the surgery, and he's already in rehab. So
that's the fight to make. They both deserve it. What? Stipe Miocic sat out for 3 years. How many times do I have to say this? He got folded like a lawn chair in his last fight. Why? Why are we booking him in a heavyweight title fight 8 months from now, while the heavyweight champion has already sat out for 8 months, and we have an interim champion, and Stipe Miocic is literally answering phones at the fire department? What are we doing? This is not the fight to make. And he talks more about this. We're going to look at a little bit more about this. Nobody wants this fight. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is the fight, not Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Nobody wants that fight. Who wants that? Let me know down in the comments. What fight would you prefer? Comment down below. Please, if you do anything, comment down below. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic in 8 months, or Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall? Please let me know, because Dana is deluded. They deserve this? What? Jon Jones had one fight at heavyweight. I understand they have legacies. But to act like this is the fight to make, like the fans want this, outright delusional. And then they ask him about Stipe potentially retiring. Let's take a look at that. I got to get to the timestamp. All right, here we go.
Dana, in the conversations you've had with Jon and Stipe, do you think that is a retirement fight for them both, or do you think they could be convinced to stick around and maybe fight Tom after?
So I had lunch the other day with Stipe, and Stipe is very focused. Listen, it's one of those fights you have the best heavyweight of all time versus the greatest martial artist of all time. That's the fight they want. It's the fight that makes sense. It's the fight that should happen. I asked Stipe that question. He says, I don't even know. All I care about right now is Jon Jones. It's the only thing I'm focused on. I want this fight really bad.
So he doesn't even know if he's retiring. I'll tell you what the answer is. The answer is yes. This is the fight to make. This is the fight that should happen. What are we talking about here? And if you're asked, hey, are you retiring after this fight? And you say, I don't know. I'm only focused on this. The answer is yes. You would know if you're not retiring or not. I mean, this is craziness. This is some of the worst matchmaking I've seen in the history of the UFC. To give a man a title shot after a 3-year layoff, his last fight, he was brutally KO'd. At that point, why aren't we giving Anderson Silva a middleweight title shot? Why aren't we giving Anderson Silva a middleweight title shot? Why aren't we giving BJ Penn a lightweight title shot? This is delusional, and Dana's acting like the fans want to see this. Please, for the love of God, I hope this fight doesn't happen. I'm praying that this fight doesn't happen. The fact that we're going to have to wait, because Jon Jones isn't fighting till summer of 2024, most likely. He fought in March of this year. So the fact that we're going to have to wait a year and a half for Jones to defend against an undeserving Stipe Miocic, and then they both may retire at the end of that, when Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall is much more compelling. Does anyone honestly think Stipe beats Tom Aspinall right now after watching Tom Aspinall versus, Sergey Pavlovich? Disgusting, disturbing. Now, in this next clip, and I've taken timestamps down for this whole thing, we're going to listen to the MMA media and their hard-hitting questions. And there's a couple of these moments throughout this. I've picked out a couple. I picked out like 2 of them to show you guys, I think, throughout the course of this video. But it's just craziness. I mean, he's completely deluded about Stipe Miocic and Jon Jones. It's just disgusting. But let's skip ahead to this next. This is hard-hitting journalists. This is hard-hitting journalism, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a listen.
Number 1, number 2, number 3 in Gates at MSG. I know you're not a guy who holds on to grudges very much, but is this the perfect way to say fuck you to those people who kept you out of New York?
Say that again?
Is this the perfect way to say fuck you to the people who kept you out of New York?
Yeah, well, believe me, the people who kept us out of New York went to fucking prison, so they're good. But yeah, the culinary union from Las Vegas, fuck you.
That's the type of hard-hitting questions you're getting. Oh, you have the number 1, number 2, and number 3 gate. Is this the perfect FU to the people who kept you out, blah, blah? Because if you guys don't know, basically, and I don't know all the intricacies of it, but if you guys don't know, MMA did not become legalized in New York until 2016. I think it was early 2016. They had their first event in November of 2016. And essentially, there was a union from Las Vegas that was donating money and lobbying for lawmakers to keep the UFC out of New York as kind of like a vendetta and try to put pressure on the UFC. But like, this is your question. Oh, does it feel like a massive fuck you to those guys? Like, who cares? And end up being some corruption and people end up going to jail and whatnot. Like, this is the type of questions we're hearing. There's plenty of good questions to be had. And this is the type of questions they're asking. And let's take a listen to another one. Because if you skip ahead to 10:45, we got another great question. I mean, hard-hitting journalism at its finest. Let's take a listen to this.
Quite the group with you, cage side for the main card, Donald Trump, Kid Rock, all those people. What was kind of just the vibe like? What were they saying with this remarkable main card that, you know, had 5 finishes?
All those guys are fight fans. Tucker Carlson's first time. And I always tell people that nobody walks into a UFC event live and then walks out and says, yeah, I don't ever want to see one.
Okay, let's just stop right there. I don't care anymore. Oh, what was the vibe like? You were with Trump and Kid Rock. What was the vibe like? That's the question you're asking? And we're going to get to the Francis Ngannou, Jon Jones question in a second because that's the best question of this whole post-fight presser. By the way, no one asked him about Francis Ngannou boxing. Not a soul asked him about Francis Ngannou's boxing performance. I know he did some softball interview and there were some quotes taken from it. He didn't see it, but Francis shocked him or whatever and he didn't see it. Not a single soul really asked him about Francis Ngannou's boxing match against Tyson Fury. Other than this one question that was really not specifically about Francis Ngannou boxing. I wonder if they were told ahead of time, don't ask about Francis's boxing performance. Because the fact that that's one of the biggest stories of the last 2 weeks, they don't even ask Dana White one fucking question about it. It's completely annoying. It's completely annoying. And, oh, you got quite the crew. What was the vibe like? What was the vibe like, Dana? I mean, that's the question we're getting. Gargle his balls anymore? I mean, seriously, these people should be fired. But this is the point. The reason I'm playing these clips is not because those last 2 clips are particularly important, but it just goes to show you the stranglehold that Dana White and the UFC has on MMA media. This is the questions they're asking. Embarrassing. Now let's skip ahead to something a little bit more notable. He's asked about Tom Aspinall sitting on the shelf, and he kind of talks about this a couple different times, but I thought this one was kind of important.
It's awesome.
Now, do you really want to keep him on the shelf for, as much as maybe a year for Jones and Miocic to kind of sort things out, or are you going to maybe have to start considering other options in the interim?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do yet. I talked about that earlier. We'll see what happens, you know what I mean? Like I said, he's got some money, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question yet.
So let me translate that for you. Yeah, we're just going to have him sit on the sidelines. So the most likely scenario, guys, let me break this down for you because, he's got some money. He'll be fine. He'll just sit on the sidelines and wait. What you're probably going to happen is you're probably going to have Jon Jones return in maybe July or August, maybe June if we're lucky, and he's going to fight Grandpa Stipe Miocic. He's probably going to beat Stipe Miocic, and then they're both going to retire. Then Tom Aspinall will be elevated to the heavyweight champion, and he won't fight until fall or winter because he's been waiting for the winner of Jones versus Stipe, but Dana doesn't know if they're going to retire or not. So instead, we're going to get Aspinall, who's in the prime of his career, who looked better than ever against Pavlovich on short notice, and we're just going to have him sit on the sideline. That's what we're going to have. So even if the winner of Jones-Stipe fights Aspinall, which is not going to happen, I would bet my life on that, you're looking at Aspinall sitting out for a full year. Think about that performance that Tom Aspinall had tonight. I'm chomping at the bit to see Tom Aspinall fight again. Why can we never have a heavyweight division that moves along? Why? This is despicable. We're going to have Tom Aspinall sit on the shelf to wait for a fight that's never going to happen. That's essentially what Dana's saying. Oh, he's got plenty of money. He'll be all right. And this was a perfectly legitimate question, and you really get no answer then. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. I'm praying. I'm hoping and praying. Like, imagine they book Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic, let's say for July, International Fight Week, July of 2024. If there's an injury again, let's say Stipe gets injured this time, are we rebooking it now for the winter of 2024? If Jones is unwilling to fight legitimate contenders, strip him. Strip him. I don't understand why we're going to keep this, this fake fight, this fake title defense. Just because Stipe was the heavyweight GOAT years ago, and I understand technically on paper he's the heavyweight GOAT. But you can't say he's getting the shot because he's a heavyweight GOAT. Otherwise, you could justify Anderson Silva getting a title shot right now. He's not that guy anymore. He's not that guy. It was 3 years ago. By the time they fight, it's going to be damn near 4 years. Stipe fought in March of 2021. You're looking at summer, fall of 2024 for Jones versus Stipe. Seriously, do I need to crap on it anymore? Why does this make any sense? I don't think anyone wants to see this, but nobody's pushing back on this. Nobody's saying, well, I don't think the fans really want to see that. There's no fans that want to see Jon Jones versus Stipe. I mean, seriously, I truly want to know, is there any fans that really want Stipe to get the title shot over Tom Aspinall? I don't believe that they exist. If they do, please let me know down in the comments and let me know why. Why do you have a craving or a desire to see Stipe, who got folded like a lawn chair 3.5 years ago, fight Jon Jones over Tom Aspinall, who just slumped out Sergey Pavlovich? Please tell me why. Now let's move on to the Francis Ngannou part, because this is the most important part. And then we're going to show like one more clip after that. But I think this is the most important part of the whole entire post-fight, where he's asked about Francis Ngannou. Let's take a listen.
For a fight, by the way, that was announced. That was never.
That's something else
never
right
a
there.
fight.
He's going
Staying
to
over here right next to him. The co-main event was for the interim heavyweight title, and we're preparing for Jones versus Miocic. But the original plan that we all wanted, was Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Obviously, that didn't work out. I've seen in boxing that there's a lot of cross-promotion in the divisions, whether you see people from Top Rank going to Showtime or anything of that nature. Is there an opportunity for you to cross-promote with the PFL for, say, a Jones and Ngannou fight, and is there anything specifically stopping that from happening?
Is there any way to stop it from happening?
So there we go. A key Dana White tactic. When you don't like a question and you're trying to think of a shitty answer, pretend like you don't understand. Lene, and he kind of misquotes the guy. Is there anything stopping it from what can stop it from happening? He just kind of plays coy.
Is there anything that's stopping that specific fight or a specific cross promotion with the PFL from happening?
Great question, by the way. Great question by this media member. Round of applause for this media member.
No, I'm not interested in that. We tried to make that fight. They didn't want to do it.
What does he mean they? They didn't want to do it. Is he talking about Francis Ngannou and his management because he hasn't really had management? Is he talking about Jones? Who is he talking about when they say they? And they wanted to do it. Francis Ngannou just wanted the freedom to box, and you weren't willing to give him that. But let's continue.
And it's done. He doesn't fight here anymore. I'm not interested.
Fair enough. Leave it at that. You're not interested anymore. You should have left it at that. But then he starts to really push back and bully this media member. And this is where I just wanted to jump through the screen and answer Dana White's question and give him pushback. Let's listen.
So no fights with the PFL just in general?
Should I?
Yeah, you should. You should, Dana. Yes, you should. The point is, the fans want to see Jon Jones, Francis Ngannou. You should do everything you can to make it happen. Okay, if he's not interested, but just listen to the pushback and then listen to the media member's answer, and he's just got a terrible rebuttal. He really doesn't have an answer. But yes, you should, Dana. Let me answer that for you.
Possibilities.
We got 1, 2, and 3. They can't sell a fucking gate. Oh, talk to me.
Look at him just bullying this guy. We got the first, second, and third live gate at MSG. They can't sell anything. Well, that doesn't change the fact they got the #1 heavyweight in the world.
And Dana,
It's a stupid question, but go ahead. Talk to me.
Like, look how angry Dana is over this question. He's so angry. Stupid question, but talk to me. No, fans have wanted to see Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Francis signed a new contract elsewhere, If you could find a way to co-promote and make the fight the fans want to see, why wouldn't you? Oh, because you don't want to cut in anyone else on the money. You don't want to risk Francis Ngannou beating your Jon Jones, your champion. That's why. But let's continue. Listen to him bully this media member more.
Why would I do that? I tried to make the fight here. They didn't want to do it. But I should co-promote with like a Bellator or a PFL. Why should I do that? Talk to me.
I guess it's just, a partnership with ESPN or anything like that, just in general, with just co-promoting an MMA to make, MMA fans happy, just for everyone to be
He started to get it right there, to make MMA fans happy, but listen to the rest of his answer.
involved with each other.
What? Because of ESPN?
As a partnership, yes.
Listen to the other media members cackling. Like, haha, what a dumb question. Dana's mad at you. He. Fucking shills. Fire every single one of those clowns. But anyway, what the guy was trying to say, but he really had a terrible rebuttal. What he was trying to say is, the UFC is partnered with ESPN. PFL is partnered with ESPN. Is there any way you guys can figure out and broker a deal since you sell your pay-per-view on ESPN? Is there a way to figure that out? That's what he was trying to say, but he made it seem like, oh, the fans would be happy that you guys work together. No, the fans will be happy because Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm over-exaggerating. It is the biggest fight that can be made right now. It is the biggest UFC fight that can be made. It is the fight the fans want to see, but instead we're getting Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, and Dana continues to push back. Let's listen to a little bit more.
You win the dumb question of the night. Congratulations, sir. What did you want to say? Did you want to chime in? Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, that other guy who apparently wanted to chime in, he didn't want to say nothing. He didn't want to say nothing anymore because Dana just bullied that guy. And all the media members laughing. Instead of someone saying, Dana asked, why should I do that? The answer, I just wish this guy would have said this. Because that's the fight the fans want to see. There has been more, pushback on the UFC for Jones versus Stipe because people want Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. Dana White, a year ago, a little more than a year ago, was talking about this fight. Oh, this is a massive fight. At one point, he was talking Jon Jones is scared, then Francis Ngannou is scared. The reason you would co-promote is because it's the biggest fight the UFC can make right now, and it's the fight that the fans want to see. That was the answer. The fans want to see this fight. There's not a fight that's more desired right now than Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. That was the answer, but instead he's like, oh, it's a dumb fucking question, but go on. And the guy's like, oh, well, you guys have the ESPN deal and PFL, and he kind of stumbles over it, and you got, is that Kevin Iole laughing off in the distance? Somebody smack him upside the head, because someone should have backed him up. Someone should have said, well, the fans want Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. I'm telling you right now, let me look into the camera right now. If you'd rather see Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic than Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou, unsubscribe to my channel. Never watch another video again. That is the fight the fans want to see. And the fact it's not, could you imagine? It's bigger than ever now. Francis Ngannou just arguably beat Tyson Fury, the heavyweight champion in boxing. Jon Jones starts Cyril Gane. There's never been a better time than right now to make Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. And if PFL can pay Francis Ngannou's contract, the UFC can pay Jon Jones' contract, the UFC can put the whole show on, PFL only gets a slight percentage of the revenue, less than the UFC, because the UFC is putting out all the money. But Dana White, he's like, nah, I'm not sharing. I'm not going to share 15 or 20% of my profits. You ain't cutting into my bottom line. We got other fights we can make here, like Stipe Miocic, who's damn near a dead corpse at this point. That's what Dana does. And he gets one legit question this whole entire press conference. This is the best question that was asked. And he bullies the guy. And the guy doesn't know how to respond. And no other media members. There's probably 30 people in that room. Easily someone else could have chimed in. Well, that's the fight the fans want to see, but no one does. And Dana just bullies him. And then the other guy had something to say mid. So never mind. I don't want nothing. I don't want to be bullied. I don't want to be yelled at you by Dana. I don't want to be yelled at by Daddy Dana White. I'm a UFC shill. I'm a Dana White sycophant. That's essentially what they said. But let's listen to a little bit more, because this last question, if it wasn't right after the Ngannou question, I wouldn't even put it in this video. But I thought this was hilarious. So let's put this in here.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg tore his ACL a couple of days ago. He was training for an MMA fight, but he's still super into the UFC. He wants to come back and compete. What's it like having somebody like Mark be into the UFC? He was into this fight tonight. He was into the Volkan Islam fight. What's it like having somebody with his influence be into the UFC?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of influential people that are into the UFC.
I don't care anymore. What's it like having Mark Zuckerberg like the UFC? Those are the questions that are being asked. Those are the questions that are being asked. Disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. They could ask plenty of other meaningful questions. I could literally come up with a list a mile long right now. Meaningful questions. And instead, what's it like having Zuckerberg tear his ACL because he loves MMA so much and he trains? What a disgrace. There has never been a worse time to be an MMA fan than the current pool of MMA media we have right now in terms of the questions that are asked, the information that we're getting, because they are bullied by the UFC. I honestly feel bad for them, but they can't even do a little bit of pushback. They can't do a little bit of follow-up questions. They can't do anything. I understand they can't go too hard. I understand they can't do what I would want to do because they're going to get banned from the event, but at least a little, they're so scared of him. You would literally think, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. Like, literally, this is a dictatorship. This is the leader of North Korea right here. You're walking on eggshells because you don't want to get assassinated. That's essentially what's going on here. They're terrified to ask Dana any question that might upset him. Hey, Dana, you seen that Francis Ngannou nearly beat the heavyweight boxing champion. Do you regret not re-signing him and giving him the ability to box? It would have been a bigger fight than ever, even though he lost to Tyson Fury. Hey, Dana, you announced the Ultimate Fighter in February of 2023, February of this year. You still don't have them booked, and there's fights booked up until March of next year. So we're talking a year since the Ultimate Fighter was announced to the time the coaches are actually going to fight. No, they don't ask that. They don't ask that. And to be fair, they did ask, is Conor and Chandler going to fight at 300? And they said, we don't have a date yet. But why not more pushback? Why'd you announce this? Why'd you have the Ultimate Fighter, which ended, I believe, in August or September? And you don't have a date for their fight yet? You got Michael Chandler sniffing Conor's ass for the last year, and you don't have a date for that yet? Oh, what made you announce Volkanovski versus Topuria, as well as O'Malley versus Vera, but you don't have dates or locations yet? Great question right there. Why is Marlon Vera getting a title shot when he just eked out a decision over Pedro Munoz, and there's more deserving contenders? Why isn't Merab getting the shot? Why isn't Corey Sandhagen getting the shot? Nope, they don't ask that because they don't want to upset Daddy Dana White. They don't want to upset him. This is the type of questions we have. This is the state of MMA media. I mean, this is disturbing. And honestly, I don't even need to have Dana on the screen anymore. I don't know why I still have him on the screen. The state of MMA media is a disgrace. It's an embarrassment. And Dana White's delusional. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.